Alongside Miranda Kahn, J.D. Hayworth back with you now on Newsmax Prime. And you may recall the recent Supreme Court ruling. There was a major reversal for the Environmental Protection Agency and its guidelines on carbon pollution emissions.
Yeah, it told the EPA and the Obama administration it cannot pursue these guidelines until the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals rules on its legal merits. But now, with Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia's death, one professor fears EPA power grabs may go unchecked.
And we are joined by that particular professor right now on our anchor desk. He's the professor of space architecture at the University of Houston, Larry Bell. And he's also the author of the book, Scared Witless: Prophets and Profits of Climate Doom. Larry, it's always good to have you here on Newsmax Prime. Boil it down for us. What's at stake now with regard to current and upcoming EPA court cases?
Well, the Supreme Court has been showing growing reluctance to give the EPA a blank check on all of their regulations. And very recently, of course, they ruled that D.C. court cannot proceed. They stayed the requirement that EPA can go ahead on their Clean Power Plan, anti-carbon pollution. I never thought of carbon dioxide as pollution. I thought it was plant food, but nevertheless. And then, of course, we had the terrible news that Justice Scalia had passed away, and so, of course, a wonderful judge and a wonderful voice for the Constitution. So we have to wait and see what's going to happen now with the new court, and of course, everyone's waiting to see if the Republicans hold tight and make sure that that doesn't happen until the next president's installed.
What impact could this have on industries, specifically coal?
Well, it's going to be huge. Of course, the war on coal, there's nothing abstract about that. And really the rather terrifying thing is that these companies, energy companies, have to make decisions years in advance. They have to plan what their rules are going to be. So they have to respond to the chance of regulations being passed. They can't just stop a battleship on a dime. So, as was the case previously with the mercury rules, the EPA had come out and said, well, we're going to have these draconian rules, and the energy companies then had to anticipate those rules, and they began responding accordingly.
And you mentioned their response. One of those responses, bottom line, for consumers means higher prices, especially when it comes to the generation of electricity, correct?
Of course. When you penalize the energy companies and the power companies, they're not going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it. And of course, the sobering reality is that, for some people that are higher income brackets, that's not proportionally as much of a burden on them. But as we look at the people that are going to be disproportionately hit, of course, with coal, it's not just electricity, but it's also, for heating and cooling. And who's going to be hit? The people in the Northeast and so on. The elderly people that can't move to Florida, wonderful places like this, and so it's disproportionately hurts the those who can least afford it, the elderly and the not so well off. But then again, it really hurts all of us because it penalizes our whole energy infrastructure, and you don't reverse it overnight.
So what's the best thing that could happen?
Well, you're asking me.
Yeah, 30 seconds. What's the best thing that could happen?
The best thing that happen is we all vote for a conservative in 2016.
Fair enough. To try and get another Justice Scalia if the Republicans in the Senate hang tough and don't knuckle under to President Obama's effort to put somebody else on the court.
That's something that's going to be with us for a very long time, the next appointment.
Fair enough. Larry Bell, thanks for ringing the bell of warning for us. Again, Larry's book, and you got to see, I love the double meaning on the spelling. Scared Witless: Prophets and Profits of Climate Doom. Well, apart from gloom and doom, do you agree with what our guest had to say? Why don't you send your comments to me at newsmaxtv.com/comments.